Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Incredible guests the world over with incredible frequencies. I mean, high frequency. They're here to help us open up, to open openness. And that's very relevant when it comes to the guest we're having today from California. Although she's all over, she's trained in India, many other ways, places, modalities. We don't want to pigeonhole her, but super high vibe. Her practice is to stay open and to keep growing in life. And she's told people that since she's a kid. She just told me that 30 seconds ago before we went live.
Good.
Um, Alx Uttermann, and I'm going to just plug her a little bit more. Spiritual teacher, healer, singer, author, speaker. And I think you're going to pick up very quickly on her high vibration. So we're not going to be able to have her back enough. She's got to live a normal life. And I just want to welcome Alx to the show. It's great to see you again.
It's so good to be here with you, Michael.
And I have to mention your background. I thought it was a real background behind you the first time we chatted and stuff like that. That's from a temple in California that closed around 2013, I think you said.
hmm
Tell us a little
hmm
bit more about the background.
Oh my gosh. So we had my former partner and I, Jonathan Rosen and me, we lived in India for many years and trained with Kaleshwar for many years. And then we were sent out in 2005. And his statement was, hey, go teach, heal. No need to hang around me. Go back to the US. So we did. I had a small cottage in the Santa Cruz Mountains that I had sublet for all the years that I was in India. And so we had a place to land, which was great. And, you know, we just started teaching and healing, and it was a slog, I have to say. You know,
Everyone's
California's a funny
everyone's somewhere. Everyone is
California's a
somewhere.
funny place, like it was to represent this level of spirituality, which is kind of like a PhD level in how things work in this creation. It's not a simple feel good, do good kind of path. It's much more complicated and I would say higher stakes than that. So representing this in California in the early 2000s was a little bit like encountering a lot of people who would say, "Oh, let me tell you about spirituality. I've read some books, and by the way, can I get my enlightenment by lunchtime because I have a meeting?" It's just like, "Oh, okay then." So it was hard, and anyway, by about 2007, we had a little community of pretty diehard practitioners in the Santa Cruz area, and we were doing our satsangs and our teachings in a trailer park community center because it was free. And unfortunately, we had to pack up we would do a regular Thursday night satsang discussion, spiritual discussion, and meditation. And everybody was in so much bliss by the end of it that nobody wanted to leave. But we had a hard stop because it was a community center of a trailer park. So it got really onerous to have to set up and do this beautiful thing and then like shush everybody out and pack up. And this was getting pretty old. And then came the feeling, hey, we need a center. We need a place where everybody can be in this energy and enjoy it and be together and not have a time limit and that kind of thing. And so this concept was born that we were going to have a center, which was anathema to both me and Jonathan. Our idea was to be like, get an RV and be itinerant, wandering siddhas, just kind of going around wherever and, maybe giving a talk on spirituality and doing some healing or something. Not to start essentially an ashram or anything like that. That just was, no. And the next thing you know, we rented this beautiful, it was a huge place in Santa Cruz Mountains, a private home. This main room had a cathedral ceiling and banks of windows to the east that overlooked 14 miles of state parks and got the sunrise off the mountains in the distance every morning. And it was so magical. And we ran it as a full time, it was a healing center and an Indian temple. This is our 700 pounds of Baba back here, Shirdi Sai Baba, who now resides in El Cajon in a center that we have there in San Diego, California. We did workshops and meditations and retreats and bhajans, sacred singing concerts, and regular satsangs. And it was a 24/7 5 people in residence at any given time on this beautiful like mountainside in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It was poetic, and so that was this place, and this was the main temple room of it. I am so glad we had a good photo of it because when it dissolved in 2013, it was abrupt. The landlady sold the place. We couldn't afford to buy it, and we had 30 days notice. Like, ouse. Like, oh, I mean, we had seating for 160 people, and yeah, it was a lot to get everything out of there, including 700 pounds of baba. So yeah, so these are some of the crew that I call the bosses of my spiritual tradition. My direct teacher was Swami Kaleshwar. His master, Shirdi Sai Baba, a great miracle healing saint of the 18 and early 1900s. Big Boss Jesus, of course. These are sort of the main three in this lineage, but also Ramakrishna, known I think in the West as Sri Ramakrishna, who was a great Kali worshiper and devotee in the 1800s, who was responsible actually for sending all the waves of the saints from India to America and to the West in general. He began that. He sent his first student, Vivekananda, in the 1890s to come to America and blast open the West to the ancient wisdom and the yogic practices of India. He a great character. And then Ramana Maharshi, of course, who died in the like 1960s, I think. Another extraordinary saint in the Indian, you know, history and lineages. Of course, Lord Buddha is here. The only one who isn't represented and should be, but wasn't at that time, is Mahavatar Babaji,
Mm.
Yogananda's great guru. Is also intimately and directly linked to this great tradition of extraordinary saints. So each of these pictures is about, I don't know, they were like 2 foot by 3 feet, so they're not small.
And then I've this is not Babaji. That's not Babaji.
No,
I confuse all my gurus, which I should
that's
know better.
Nisargadatta, I believe.
Yep, and I've got Krishnamurti
Great.
here,
Uh-huh.
but I think I've got Babaji's photo. The my situation is remembering street names, people names, and then
Babaji
Indian.
is a very young, glowing, extraordinary,
Is it the?
beautiful.
It's not. So I'm confusing Papaji. I have Babaji right here. Hold on.
Oh,
Uh,
Papaji versus Babaji. Yes,
yeah.
no, Babaji is immortal. Yes, he's been on the planet since the 200s.
Okay.
Hmm.
Thank you. Okay. Tell us a particular time in India, in particular, Swami Kaleshwar's Penukonda place where
Okay.
something happened that a Westerner would be like, wait, what? And
Oh
you
my God.
were having an amazing experience, or you couldn't believe it yourself. And you may have a few of those, but give us some flavor, give us some spice. Put us into the kitchen and let's get some cooking smells going.
Can I screen share? Do I have that?
Probably not this second, because again, it would be like names, faces, and stuff. I wouldn't know which button to push this moment.
How about
Oh,
now?
now I do. I love how quick that was. Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so one of the things that comes, I mean, let me backtrack. Swami Kaleshwar was a miracle healing saint, and he had that reputation. He came out to the West when he was 24 years old, and he came out swinging. Not only was he healing terminal cancers in like 5 minutes, but he was manifesting ash from his fingertips to heal people. He was creating objects out of nothing, sometimes very elaborate objects, including like a whole mala, you know, like a rosary would come out of his palm of his hand. He would give these things to students to carry the divine energy, the creation energy that goes into manifesting something. Now it's in a physicalized form, yeah. So they could carry the healing into their practices and into their lives to help other people. So he had this reputation. He also did some pretty wild things, like he would drop his body for dead for a couple days at a time. No heartbeat, no respiration, and then he would come back in. He was showing the distinction.
With the doctor monitoring him,
Yes,
standing by.
my poor colleague, the internal medicine physician, having to take care of this now corpse on his hands and think about what if he doesn't come back in, and then their Indian authorities are going to think my friend maybe was negligent or somehow there was some foul play or something involved. You know, it was edgy. It's edgy to be in those experiences. Let me say it like that. It's not, we're not talking in the normal world, and we're not talking in the normal spiritual kingdom either. We're really talking a level of how the soul is entirely distinct from the form that it inhabits, and proving that not only to ourselves, but in general. So Kaleshwar was demonstrating this over and over again. And I have to say, it's very comical. That process is called a yoga samadhi. Samadhi generally means you're in a deep meditative state, let's say. But they also use that term in India when somebody dies. When they leave their body, they'll say they're in their final samadhi, you know? A yoga samadhi is when you can take your soul out at will, drop the body for dead. You have up to 72 hours before you have to come back in. And so it could be a few hours. Sometimes Kaleshwar would do that. He'd be gone for a couple of hours only and then pop back in. Other times he would go the full 72 hours. Um, yeah. And it's, I mean,
And he'd be hanging out with Jesus and other
mhm.
celestial
he would,
beings,
he
sort
would
of a
go to the
convention.
divine court meetings.
Yeah.
He would talk about that. He would say, and there were many decisions that, so the celestials are all arguing in the divine court, presided over by the mother, about the fate of the human souls and the karmas here, and how much divine information, for example, should they really give us at this time in our history. There were certain things that were scripted to come later, and Kaleshwar, Shirdi Baba, and other saints that you see here were massive advocates to speed it up, because the planet's such a mess that it really needs its top souls to get the information and be able to help turn the tide of the negativity. So things like that, he would go and make a case in these meetings. And if you're incarnate on this planet when they have the divine court meetings, certainly Swami Kaleshwar wasn't the only one, but the saints who were invited would drop their bodies and then go and join on the other kind of plane, if you will. But it's a yoga samadhi is a common enough occurrence in South India that the local police actually have a form that you're supposed to fill out if you're going to do such a thing. Should someone stumble on your body that you mean to re-inhabit and haul it off to the cremation grounds, you see the problem, right? So yeah, it's really comical. I don't know that any saint would ever actually go to that trouble to do that, but my point is there are people with these abilities, and it's a frequent enough occurrence that even local law enforcement is aware of it, which is a whole other universe we're in here.
And before we get
So,
to your stories, can you just tell us a little bit more about Sri Kaleshwar? And
sure.
passed at a very young age, knew
Hmm.
he was gonna go
Hmm.
early, and I would argue it wasn't 24/7, but he overworked big time and was running around and knew again early exit. Can you cover his
Hmm.
work ethic? How about that?
Wow. Well, I can say, I mean, I lived on his ashram for 5 years straight and was back and forth for another, let's see, um, I knew him for 13 years, and in total, including those 5 years in India. And first off, I never saw anybody work as hard on behalf of other people as he did. He had zero desires for himself, and I literally mean zero. His sole ethos was, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help every soul reach as high a potential as it came to do as I can? My image of him was like one candle burning at both ends, rapidly trying to light as many candles as it could before it just extinguished. And he was like that. Even when he did not appear to be on duty working, he was working. Because you have to understand, a saint like that, millions of souls are coming to him every second begging for relief. Worldwide, souls. Everybody who ever saw him, anybody who ever heard his name, anybody who ever saw a photo of him, anybody who heard his voice, who saw video of him, whatever. That's it. He's taking care of their soul forever and ever and ever until they reach their final destiny as a merged character with the mother. And they were all coming to him all the time, regardless of what he was doing, whether he was sleeping or eating, or it didn't matter, let alone his work on the surface. So I never in my life have seen anybody so selfless and so capable and so cheerful about it, and so intense on his duty as Kaleshwar. You don't find them like that.
Public service announcement for folks. We have a fun playlist. It could be beach videos of just ocean waves lapping in from my tranquility. It could be music videos or something else. But we have two 26-minute videos from a guest of the show, Alan Steinfeld, who's pretty famous in his own right. I'm going to say he's probably done 3,000 interviews out of New York before YouTube existed, alas.
Hmm. Hmm.
But he keyed in on Swami Kaleshwar
Hmm.
early,
Hmm.
and
He
that
did.
channel, our healer even did the officiated the wedding back in the States. But there are two 26-minute videos from Alan where he's doing the interviewing. But John Gray, who's coming on a third time, the show here, is in the video talking about his brother being a magician and how he knows this is not some sleight of hand. This is actual miracles of, I can never pronounce anything correctly, but Djibouti, the sacred ash.
Djibouti.
Thank you. It's not
Djibouti is a
not the place in
country.
Africa. Yeah, exactly.
You're correct.
But I
Yes.
will mispronounce it if it's possible. But the ash coming out of his hand to even the introduction by the woman that Howard Stern teased and
Hmm.
later apologized, who's passed over now. She
Paula.
described the pendant that was made and how it
Hmm.
changed later. She was given like an equivalent
Hmm.
of Ganesh
It was
or divine.
Ganesha with many arms.
Yeah,
And
and
he
then it
was
had X.
fuzzy at night, and then by the morning, everything had come into straight. That's not the first time that Kaleshwar did something like that.
Thank
And
you.
it was really demonstrating how the miracle energy operates. He would say, and he taught us, everything comes down to the five elements of nature: the earth, the fire, the sky, the ether, the water, and the air. And in different configurations, we get all the different forms in the material creation, including the human form. So when Kaleshwar would manifest something out of nowhere, or in the case of like something like that, teleport it from somewhere. He had like a closet full of things, and he would look at you sometimes and be like, "Okay, what's in my hand?" And you're like, "What? How the hell would I know? I mean, it's an infinity there." No, no, he'd say, "You have to guess," and then he would open his hand, and there would be some amazing little object there that he yanked from somewhere. Yanking is different from creating. It's a different, slightly different channel. But when he would create something, whether it was a Shiva lingam out of a fire, or Paula's Ganesh necklace, or another friend of mine who got a mala out of a fire, he grabbed a handful of hot ash out of a fire homa, out of a fire ceremony, and gave it to my friend. And that ash turned into like a mala with white beads. But it was rough the night before. It still had an ashy quality to it. And by the morning, it was perfectly smooth, beautiful white beads. So that is a demonstration. Why is it fuzzy to start, and why does it get more distinct? Well, think about a baby, a human baby. They're pretty pudgy and not quite fully the person they're going to be. Fast forward 20 years later, and they have distinct features, and everything is sharp, and we know who that person is. If you see a lineup of like 10 babies, it's kind of hard to tell which is which, right when they're born. They're still very fluid. It's a discussion about how the water element, the creation element, is at play in the creation of something solid. It's not solid for a little bit until it hardens, until it solidifies in the earth element. So we would see that over and over again with Swami Kaleshwar. When he would manifest things, often they were quite soft to begin with, and then they would become solid.
Let's get
It's a
some flavor.
demonstration of the elements.
Let's
Mhm.
get some flavor. You were coming out of this practice, going towards that practice. Something happened. Give us the first one.
Yeah, I was a hot mess. So what happened? Yeah, the comical thing is that I was a deep skeptic about all this stuff. I mean, people said energy healing, and I'd run the other way. I was like, no, 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 no. I was not a seeker in any conventional sense. I wasn't looking for anything. Um, when I was living in Santa Cruz, which is crystals and psychics and, as I would call them, nuts and flakes of California, from my extremely East Coast pseudo intellectual skeptical self. People would say, "Oh, this great spiritual teacher's coming to the bookstore. Do you want to go hear them?" I'm like, "No, wait, I think I have to wash my hair that night." I just had nothing. this was not an open thing to me. My first spiritual mentor besides Kaleshwar was Jack Schwartz, who was an extraordinary siddha, a Dutch yogi who had, he came in with a lot of awake qualities and he had supernatural abilities that he developed. He was born in the 1920s, I guess. He was a teenager in the 30s when the Nazis invaded Holland and took all the young men to the work camps. So he went to Auschwitz, but not as to the death camp side, but to the forced labor side. He already had extraordinary abilities. He could go without food, he could go without sleep, he had pain control, and he had a kind of enlightenment experience while he was being tortured, actually, because he was rebellious and and cocky, as he himself would say. So I met Jack when he was in his 70s, and he didn't eat, he didn't really sleep. He had extraordinary supernatural capabilities, and he was my first mentor. And I had one foot in and one foot out, and I was kind of skeptical, but I also knew he was absolutely the real thing. He was a magnificent human being and a total love creature. He emanated just pure love, even though he was brusque and Dutch and funny and chain smoking. I was like, you are the teacher for me. So he was my sort of entree, if you will, into a spirituality that I hadn't just read about anywhere. And then somewhere in there, Reiki healing hit me.
You took a bite out of the apple, or the whole bushel.
Mm-hmm.
But when did you
Mm-hmm.
finish the first apple and you were fully hooked?
I'm not sure I know what you mean by that question.
You were hedging with East Coast mental. I'm not sure about this. When you're seeing miracles, you're
Oh,
experiencing miracles. When did you
oh,
really dive into the pool of consciousness?
yeah. It came in stages, I have to say. It came in stages. I think the layers of heartbreak that were in me, which were enormous and had a really traumatizing young life, um, those all had to be dissolved. And it was sort of step by step. Reiki healing hit me. I became a Reiki healer and a Reiki master, trying to figure out how it works, and nobody seemed to know. So that was kind of an interesting experience. It certainly opened me up to miraculous energy happening. I couldn't deny that. It was for real. And it was happening through me, and I could see it. And I was like, huh, fascinating. So that kind of was more of a gateway drug in a way. And then it's when I met Jonathan in the fall of 1999, Jonathan Rosen, my former partner, who had been a Kaleshwar student for 2 years and had been a very diehard TM practitioner for the previous 30 years. He gave me a transmission of energy from Kaleshwar that literally knocked me over, actually. Literally floored me. And I remember before I blacked out in the consciousness that I saw the origins of the creation and a whole bunch of other things. And I came out of that experience like a drunk person, feeling so loopy and like drugged in a beautiful way, like what just happened? There's Jonathan quietly meditating over on my little couch, and I said, what was that? And he said, oh, that's a Kaleshwar energy. I was like, okay, well, sign me up, because that made Reiki look like kindergarten. And I was all in. I think the skepticism was still there until that first trip to India in the winter of 1999 on Christmas. And that just blasted whatever was left open.
And I'm going to ask about your Reiki experience just for a
Mm-hmm.
point of reference before we get to India.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe 40 categories of Reiki practitioners. There's some who just feel the energy or feel the colors but don't see. There's others who fully see. And there's everything in between, and there's so many
Mm-hmm.
nuances. It's absolutely wild. Could you just spend 30, 40 seconds, a couple minutes on which way did you flow? Did you go wide open on it or very meticulous? How do you want to describe your Reiki handling abilities?
Oh, it was pretty wide open. So I took the initiation as a joke because I had a friend in the computer gaming industry that I was working in. She was a Reiki master, and she said, hey, I'm coming up to the Santa Cruz area to teach a Reiki workshop. Can I stay in your little cottage with you? And I was like, of course. I had a cottage in the Redwoods, and it was lovely. And So when she got there, she said, "Hey, in exchange for you giving me a free place to stay, I'll comp you into my workshop." And I'm like, I've got that feeling again, that like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have to wash my hair all weekend. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't have anything else to do that weekend, so I went to her thing as a joke. And she talked about Reiki, and I was like, okay, whatever. I know. I was so bad, man. I had zero. I didn't. I can say from this perspective now, all these decades later, I think my soul was like, forget the preliminary, done that, done that, done that, done that. I want the highest, and I kind of won't really be satisfied with anything else. So what's the point until that shows up? Kind of. But I didn't know that at the time. So anyhow, she then talked about the origins of Reiki and where it came from and how it works and some things. And then she flipped off the lights and put on some lame new age music, and she said, "I'm going to give the attunement," which is an initiation, right? It's flowing in. And it was like a hallucinatory trip for me. I was like, colors are exploding in my head and white light is pouring in. I'm like, oh my God, this is for real. You've got to be kidding me. So by the time and it went on and on, it was at least 10 minutes of like completely out of body at one point. I mean, it was amazing. And she flips on the lights when the whole thing calms down, and she says, "How was that?" And the other couple people in the workshop are like, "Oh, that was nice. That was very peaceful." And I'm like, "You're joking, right?" I just had an acid trip in my head. And what do you mean, nice and peaceful? The second day we did the same thing, another layer of Reiki initiation, and it was like that times 100.
Describe that out of body for us. Did you go somewhere and interact with other beings? Was it just
No,
bathing in light or peace and calm or
no, I felt that I was not in my form, that I was somehow spinning in space, while the explosions of color and fireworks and things. And I had had that experience a little bit having acupuncture, which is odd, but I did. So I knew what it was from that reference point. So I wasn't freaked out by it or anything, but I was like, whoa, this is way more dynamic than I imagined this would be.
could you see your own body?
No, I had no body. It was a feeling of rotating like this, but what was rotating? Who the hell knows? It was. I don't think there was any physicality at all.
And
Yeah.
then
So
day two, sorry to take you
day
off
two,
track.
same thing times 100, and that was the day when we started doing Reiki on each other. And yeah, man, it was flowing out of my hands. I couldn't believe it. And people were like, "Whoa, your hands are hot." I'm like, "Really? They feel cold to me." I could feel it moving. And I do remember actually somebody's car battery had died at the end of that day. We were all out in the parking lot, and my friend was like, "Hey, just do Reiki on the battery." And we did, and it started, and it was just bizarre. I was like, okay. So that was a kind of tipping point because it was demonstrable. I had a direct experience of something that I could not argue with. And it was exciting because I had felt that flow of energy and I had seen what it was doing to people just in the workshop. So I became a Reiki nut. I was doing Reiki for everybody. Anybody I could get my hands on, I was doing. And quasi miraculous things were happening. I mean, really miraculous things. I had a boyfriend at the time who his back was hurting. And so I did Reiki on his back. And all of a sudden I felt these waves. Felt, perceived, whatever, these waves coming up through his body. I was like, what the hell is this? And at the peak of one of them, he just started to sob. I had known this guy for many years before we became an item there briefly. And I did not know his background, which was he, as a child, had lost a little sister. She was hit by a car when he and all the other kids and she were together. And he had gone running, 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 running to go get parents or somebody to help. And she died in the midst of that. And he felt that he was to blame for that. I mean, he was like 11 years old. She was maybe 9. And he had carried this. I had never heard this story. And he's like choke sobbing and snot sobbing. And it got stirred up by the Reiki in his back. And I was like, so things like that started happening. And I was like, okay. And the more I did, the more I remembered.
Mm.
Pretty soon, I would see people's faces morph into all kinds of past lives and genders and races. And that just became the norm. I would get psychic information about people. Sometimes I would actually see their past lives, which was a little interesting. Whatever it was, it would just happen in the course of doing Reiki healing for people. So that got pretty, it was like a, kind of like my feet were in it. And so then I just used what tool I had and it began expanding my understanding. And then pretty soon I would go with questions to the Reiki master people and ask them stuff. And they'd be like, oh, they give you that glazed, like, well, the energy handles it. I'm like, okay, so you don't know how this works. I get it. So I became a Reiki master, hoping that that would answer some of the questions I had. So then I could do that attunement, that initiation for people, which was also really powerful. But again, no answers. And so that's where I was in the fall of '99 when Jonathan Rosen walked into my life and brought the Kaleshwar energy. And that was just a whole other level. And so I ended up going to India within a couple of months. Last place on the planet I ever wanted to go. Of course. It got to the point where I could measure how spiritually important something was by the degree of my resistance to it.
That
Coming
makes
to
that
California
makes a
doesn't
lot
matter
of
what.
sense. I like that.
Did not want to come to California, ended up all these things happening, right? Did not want to go to India. Of course, I end up in India.
Let's jump to the first time you met Sri Kaleshwar, or the time he sized you up and shared something to you about your journey and where you were headed, something like that.
Oh,
Talk.
that was immediate.
Okay,
That was
that's
immediate.
what I was
So
getting.
I met him before I met him physically,
Oh,
which was disturbing. Very disturbing. So there I am living my best life in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I had thrown over my Silicon Valley writing and computer gaming work. There was a point in there where I realized reluctantly, hey, I've come here to be a healer and I need to do this. Kicking and screaming. So I did. And, as I say, a lot of things were expanding. My capability for assessing what was going on with people, for the way the energy would help them, it was getting really intensified and very, very interesting. And I'd say about a year before I had a direct experience with Ganesha, which kind of blew my socks off. So there was a lot of, the carpet was being rolled out in a beautiful way for me to get to this point. Anyway, so Jonathan comes into my life. He gives me that Shakti pot, that transmission from Kaleshwar that knocked me sideways. I mean, honestly, I was sitting cross-legged on my massage table. He put his thumb on my third eye. He transmitted the energy, and I remember falling straight forward over my crossed legs. Okay, I was in my early 30s and I was pretty limber, but still, face down on my massage table over the crossed legs for, I don't know, 20 minutes at least. Gone in the cosmic. I mean, gone in the waves of the consciousness. And as I said, seeing the origins of creation and so on, I remember coming out of that still face down when I came back. Oh my God, so stiff because I've been laying over my crossed legs for quite some time, completely oblivious to anything in the physical. After that point, that's when Jonathan told me stories of Kaleshwar, and then Jonathan, who was at that time a mid-50s, nice Jewish guy from Brooklyn, his face would turn into this young brown man, and I'd be like, all right, that's going to be the guru, fine. It's a little weird, but it's not like I haven't seen faces morph, so okay. And then he would tell me these miracle stories, and I'm like, this is very interesting. I never wanted a guru, really. I didn't want spirituality just for spirituality's sake. But you're telling me here's somebody who can bend meditation energy and use it to help people. This is practical. This I'm interested in. And the feeling inside was, I've been waiting for this. So this is kind of what was happening. And then I would start to tell people in those first few weeks, hey, I'm hearing about this young miracle healing saint, from South India. Their faces would morph into the young brown man. And they would say to me, well, what do you really want, Alx? Come to find out, that's the first question Kaleshwar would ask people when he met them. How can I help you? What do you really want? So I was like, okay, now I'm being stalked by this guru. I felt like I was being stalked by God, and it was unnerving, I think. And then somewhere in there, Jonathan, I was over at his house for the first time, and he wandered off to make tea, and he parked me in a little chair, and he said there was a little picture of Kaleshwar on the side table there. He said, "That's Swami Kaleshwar." Because I hadn't actually, it was 1999. There weren't websites you couldn't run to the internet and check somebody out, you know? So I'd never seen a photo of him. And there he is, sure enough, the young brown guy, you know? And Jonathan wandered off to make tea, and I'm looking at this photograph, and I'm like, all right, who are you? Show me. Looking eye to eye, and that photograph came alive and was a three-dimensional person. And from him came to me a kind of wave of an exuberant, it's good to see you again. It wasn't in words, but that was the flavor. And something from me went in response exactly the same to him. And my mind went, ah, shit, you found me. Not again! No, 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 no. Why now? Finally, after 30, I was 32 years old, after 32 years of pure torture in this world, I was finally starting to enjoy myself. And then I'm like, really? And now you find me? You couldn't give me another 6 months just to be like free and enjoy the, no, okay. So I knew from that moment that my life as it had been was ended. That was it. That was the complete turning point. And Jonathan came back in, you know, and I'm like, I'm not saying anything because I knew if I mentioned this had happened, he would be crowing in jubilation, you know, oh, good for you, blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't so sure this was so good. You know, I had to really sit with it. A couple days later, I told him, and then he said to me, well, you know, he's coming to Seattle in like 2 weeks. Do you want to go? Yeah, of course. Duh. So I met Swami Kaleshwar for the first time in the SeaTac airport baggage claim. And I felt him before I saw him. The run-up was we were on the, I guess there's a tram or something in the airport to get to the right baggage claim. Jonathan's on a cell phone talking to the people who are with Kaleshwar and da, 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 and where are you and blah, blah, blah. My heart suddenly started like this and I thought, wow, that's intense. Oh my gosh, I'm meeting him in form. Like, you know, it got real in that moment, let's say. And I was like, and we're kind of running toward the baggage claim belt where he is standing with a few of his students who have come from India and also some Americans who have joined him there. And the moment I saw him, everything just went, oh yeah, of course, right. And he saw me as we came up with Jonathan, and he said, wow, she's radiant. And that was my first meeting with him. So we stayed with a whole group of us in a house, in a private home. It was quite large, of these two wonderful people in Seattle who had invited Kaleshwar to stay with them and all of us. I mean, we must have been like 14 people, I think. So all the men were in one room, all the ladies were in another. Kaleshwar had a guest room where he was. And night after night, he was coming around and doing crazy energy transmissions and throwing rose water on us and giving us all Shakti pots. And by day, he was meeting with tons of people in different circles. Both Jonathan and the guy who owned this house were high-level management consultants with like Fortune 100 companies. And they had ties to Boeing and Microsoft in Seattle. And so a lot of the execs from those companies came and sat with Kaleshwar, which was quite a hoot. He's talking very mundane on the surface, almost like Tony Robbins. And underneath it, he's just blasting them with the energy. They can hardly stay vertical. They're like going into such a trance. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then there was another spiritual group there that invited him. So I got to see him with them, completely different. I saw him with us, more his stronger students. And there was one night in all of that when I was sitting in the room with the ladies that I was staying with, and I'm journaling, I'm writing in my book, you know, all the things. And I had seen him already do some miracle things, and just really intense. And all of a sudden, I'm kind of like, hey, where is everybody? I'm the only one in this room. It's like 10 o'clock maybe at night, and I'm like, that's weird. The other women aren't here. And the whole house feels quiet. It's kind of like when everybody's having a party and somehow they forgot to bring you along, you know? I'm like, where'd they all go? And so I'm like padding around this house where all the lights are kind of out, and I'm like, what is this? It's totally empty. I go upstairs, I go, and then I see this cracked guest room door. And everybody's piled in this guest room, and Kaleshwar is talking. Well, the door's cracked open, and I'm like the new kid, right? So I don't really know how to be around such a one. I know there are protocols and there are rules, and I don't know any of them really. So I'm like, should I go in? Should I not? They're his experienced students. They've been around him for 2 years, you know. And the door's cracked, so I just stand outside the crack in the door so I can listen, you know. Instantly, he like sees me. He's talking. He sees me through the crack, and he's like, so I come in the room, and I'm just stay back, man. Because again, as I say, I don't know how things operate around this. So I'm just standing in the back. And there was a colleague of mine, George. George is massaging Swami's feet. He used to have people rub his feet a lot for a whole lot of reasons. And he's talking, you know, so everybody's listening intently, and George is massaging his feet. And all of a sudden, Kaleshwar is like, hey, you, come here, sit here. I was trying to be in the back and just blend. No. So I go and I sit in front of everybody at his feet, and he says, George, move over, you massage my feet. I'm like, okay, I didn't know much about the Indian tradition, but I know that's a really big deal. You touch a master's feet, it's a thing. Okay. So I'm massaging his feet, and I'm feeling really like I should not be doing this. This is really holy, and maybe it's an imposition, and I don't know. He goes on talking, and I kind of close my eyes to vibe his feet, and he's like, don't close your eyes, don't go in a trance. Okay. Okay. So I'm massaging his feet. I'm very tentative about it. He goes on talking, and then after a little bit, I kind of wind down. He goes, what are you doing? You don't stop. Like, it's you stop when I tell you to stop. I'm like, okay. And at one point he said to me, you do massage work, right? I said, I do. He said, you'll get a lot better at it. I said, I hope I do, Swami. He goes on talking, right? And so I'm massaging his feet. Da, 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 da. And interestingly, that whole night, my arms from fingertip to about above the elbow were absolutely glowing. And I realized later, oh my gosh, he took all of the healing work that I had done for hundreds of people by then out of my system. He had decharged all that negativity so that it wouldn't come back to bite me. Because there was quite a backlog. And one of the major things that he would teach were techniques about how healers need to offload effectively, not wishful thinkingly, all the detritus that we pick up from people.
We're going to pause there and have you pick it right back up. But talk to us about boundaries, lack of boundaries back in your Reiki days or earlier. And then talk to us about, again, was it water, quick showers, touching a tree, earth, singing, chanting, all the above, light a candle? Talk to us about how it evolved for, again, transmutation, transmission, and just energizing up, shields up.
Yeah, no shields. No. Yeah, let me just finish that episode, and I'll talk about the intensity of decharging and dissolving what we pick up from people. The next morning after all that, right? And I should say, by being positioned right in front of him as the new kid, I could feel everybody's eyes in the back of my head, and there was a lot of jealousy and a lot of, who the hell is this upstart? And you know, rubbing his feet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, whatever. He just told me to do it. I'm just doing it. That was my experience with Kaleshwar. It was sort of like, whatever. He told me to do it. I'm doing it. This was for lives. Many, many iterations of my time with Kaleshwar. That's sort of what it came down to. And that was uncomfortable and awkward. And in the next morning, Clint, the doctor, he came to me and he said, you know, I've been around here for 2 years. I don't know if this is worth anything, but I've never seen him let a woman touch his body before. I'm like, oh, well, that does explain a few things, doesn't it? In terms of the eyes in my head that were smacking me hard. Oh, especially from the ladies. Oh. So that was my introduction to him. And I feel like he was saying, oh, there was another component in it. Jonathan had told me in advance, because he told me a lot of Kaleshwar stories over his 2 years of knowing him before I met Kaleshwar, that Kaleshwar was an absolute, unabashed flirt with the ladies. I mean, to extremes like outrageous extremes. At one point, literally, he had a mother and a daughter both thinking honestly that he was going to marry them. And he was pitting the women against one another, kind of like Krishna with the gopikas, to wash out a lot of their jealousy, their jealousy, their jealousy, their jealousy. I, as a young woman, had been quite a man eater. And if there was a pretty boy, I mean, oh my God, I was so susceptible. And I'd now seen a photo of him and I was like, oh no, please, just don't. Just, I don't even want that level or layer of anything in my dealings with you. That just would be so painful. I just couldn't. And I really had that very heartfelt feeling. When I first put my hands on his feet, there was a rush through me of this maternal, like a fierce kind of maternal protectiveness about him. That kind of characterized my feeling about him. Um, it was not ever, I feel like, message received. He never was like flirty or weird with me as a woman. On that level, I saw many that did kind of get snared in that and have to deal with all that and all of their expectations and all their disappointments and all of it. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. So in that one interaction, he had already managed to convey quite a lot.
Mm.
You know, that you, new person, you're not that new. You're massaging my feet in front of all these experienced students, and I'm blasting their belief systems because you're female and I've let you touch me. I also trust you to touch me, which tells me quite a lot about who you are as a soul. Like everything was nonverbal, but it was really very clear. He was saying a lot of things there without saying anything. So back to the offloading negativity. You know, Kaleshwar was in the business of creating healing masters. That was his sole purpose. He wasn't looking for hundreds of thousands of devotees or millions of devotees as some saints do. And there's a big need for those types of saints in our creation, and they play a very strong role helping the people. But his role was different. He came to bring the mechanisms of the creation back to humanity. He came to explain the miracles and make them teachable, in the way that Buddha had learned them, in the way that Jesus had learned them, in the way that Shirdi Baba had learned them, in the way that Kaleshwar had learned them. That these are not things that just people wake up and they get hit in the head by an angel and suddenly they have miracle abilities. No, there's structure and technology from the ancient rishis who wrote down formulas that anybody can practice and gain these capabilities in order to help the planet, in order to help people come up out of their own pain and suffering, mostly. Okay, so along the lines of training master healers and spiritual masters, he would hammer into us, you guys, you're handling the worst negativity of human beings. You have to know these techniques to decharge it, to offload it. Anybody who's involved in a helping or a healing profession, whether it's a Western medical physician or a psychotherapist or a school teacher or an EMS person or customer service, or anybody who works in hospitality. Oh my God, do you know what our flight attendants have to deal with every day? The amount of negativity that people dump on other human beings who are in a role of helping is so toxic and so difficult that most people just internalize it, and then they start to have, over time, physical or mental health issues, or a combination of both. So that's just in the normal world. Imagine handling the level of sludge that the masters handle. So he gave us a whole array of tools that we must use to what he would call decharge the negativity every single day, kind of like clearing the cache of your history on your web browser, or like brushing your teeth. You wouldn't skip that, right? You don't want 6 months later down the road the plaque buildup, yeah? And many healers are not aware, I was not aware as a Reiki person, that it builds up. Because the Reiki people said, oh, hang on, I'm going to sneeze.
And this is a public service announcement. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Emojis count, but what have you already heard from Alx that's been amazing? Or relate your own personal parallel steps, experiences. And that's about it. Multiple emojis means you're getting even more out of it. So don't be shy. You're letting somebody else see the video. I'll mention that I've been having to get in a pool that's like 5 houses down. It's a community of 130 homes. But Angels and others have had me getting in a pool. I think it's my
Mm-hmm.
fourth summer. There was a 2 month period I had an excuse, like a note written where I didn't have to get in the pool for a specific health condition. And then I'm looking at the light waves of energy in there. 8 minutes is fine.
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes is in there, or
Mm-hmm.
longer, or three
Mm-hmm.
times in a day. And there's more
Yes.
happening than I can imagine. It would be like dream time.
The water element is especially good for decharging. So this decharging business, Kaleshwar hammered it into us. You have to do it every day. It's really important. Here are the tools. The tools got more extreme as we went deeper into this tradition, but he would say that's the difference between life and death for the healers and the spiritual people, really. And I remember we were sitting in San Francisco with him one night, and there were about 300 people in a church there. He was giving a talk, and he said, "Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of you are healers here, and you're really good healers. It means your hearts are very open." And then he said, I'm so angry because I've given the decharging information over and over again, and it's not getting out there. And honestly, you're going to get very sick if you don't handle what you're receiving. And he would say, with or without your notice, you're receiving a certain measure of negativity from all the people that you work with. Whether you think you are or you don't think you are is immaterial. It's a law of nature. Like just because you didn't know that a red light means you have to stop is not going to keep you from getting the ticket when the police officer pulls you over, right? Oh, I didn't know. Ignorance is no defense. It's a law of nature. And anyway, so the way he would describe it is the soul is like a kind of battery in the human system. It can hold both positive and negative charges. Positive charges are obvious: a divine experience, a good meditation, when we're of service to someone, a scene in nature that moves you to tears, or a piece of art, performance or literature or whatever that moves you to tears. The soul itself is moved. That's why the water comes from the eyes. It's moving to the soul. These are positive charges we want to hold on to. Negative charges are pretty obvious. Somebody reams you out, or an argument, or even, you cut somebody off on the freeway and they give you a stink eye. We take that in, we feel that, and it goes into the other side of the soul battery. And those negative charges will stay lodged there until they're pulled out through some kind of supernatural means, through the heart. They enter through the heart, they have to come out like that. And so he gave us technique after technique after technique to literally decharge the negative things out of the system.
Share one or two.
Well, one of them is sitting in water like that. Any kind of water, and it can be done in the bath or the shower or an outdoor body of water. Do not do it like in an indoor hot tub or swimming pool, because that is not open to the elements and it won't decharge out of that water. And the idea is that it's like a kind of two-step, well, I would call it a four-step process. One is you recognize, hey, I'm off. Something is funny in me. Maybe I had a conversation with somebody and they poured out their trauma, and now I'm reeling. In the wake of that, they feel better, right? They offloaded the charge. Where did it go? It doesn't dissipate. We know that energy only changes form. It does not disappear. Majority of it went to the person who's listening with an open heart, who I would say is a healer in that moment. If we're smart and we realize that we're an agent of divinity, as a healer, we're taught that. It's not me doing it. It's never me doing it. I've never healed anybody in my life. Only God is the healer. When we know we're an instrument of it, then 98% of that negativity automatically returns to the source. No problem. But that 2 to 3% lodges here, right? So you might feel really exhausted or drained or enervated after such a conversation, or like people reach for hard alcohol, or I'm going to eat a whole Sara Lee chocolate cake, or, we all have a different reaction to receiving some negative energy blowback from other people. It differs from neurophysiology to neurophysiology, but the principle is the same. There is now a negative charge in our system that needs to come out. Otherwise, it will become integrated into us, and then it's harder to get out of the system. So first thing is to notice, people come home from work and they're like, oh, I have a headache. I just take a pill. That headache means you need to decharge. Your system is overwhelmed. Our own system is sending alarms all the time. It knows when it's out of balance, and it knows when it's taken on too much from other people. And it will definitely signal to us. Body pains are one way. Mental, emotional stuff. You'll hear about folks who can't leave their work at work, still at home, therapists. public advocates, social workers, attorneys. They're still chewing on the pain and the suffering of their clients hours after they've left the workplace, right? That's an energy charge in their system. That's not theirs. It's the pain of that other person, right? Has to decharge. Otherwise, it will start to play havoc in that person's system. So there are a lot of different symptoms: sleep disturbances, food disturbances. Classic one is a friend of mine was a massage therapist. She put her hands on a new client and immediately had to go and throw up. Came back, did the massage, and then found out after the massage that lady had a stage 3 cancer, right? So it may be that suddenly you can't eat very well, or you're just like absolutely compulsively eating. It depends on, again, neurophysiology and our relationship to the energy. But the bottom line is there are symptoms in our system that tell us we're overloaded. You have to decharge right now. So first is take stock, see where you're at. If you're out of stasis, something's not right in there, you need to decharge. Then you can go, let's say, choose the water element. Any of the 5 elements will work, especially the gross ones, the earth element, the fire element, and the water. Go sit in the water. And when you're in the water or a shower, you're thinking the following. Step 1 is gratitude to the source. However you call God or source or universe or Jesus, or it doesn't matter. But thank you.
I'm getting a
When
huge
we're
high pitch in the
grateful,
right ear.
do what?
I just got a huge pitch in the right ear. Yeah.
When we're grateful, the heart opens and energy can move. So we have to do the gratitude first. Thank you for this water element that I'm using right now. Okay. Second part, right now I'm decharging. Whatever it is that I picked up, that is not me today. Whatever it is, I'm decharging it. And that's it. You can sit in the water. You can be watching something on YouTube. You can be thinking about something else. You can watch the birds, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Your own consciousness knows how to do that once you've told it to do that. And you let it go. And generally, 10 minutes, 15 minutes probably. If it was really intense, if it was a horrible argument and you're like shaking, why are we shaking after an argument? Because that influx of negative energy is so intense. Our system, honestly, our soul is a very delicate little flame sitting at the heart. It can't handle that deep negativity. And so we're physically shaking. It's not adrenaline. It's the soul itself is disturbed. It needs to decharge. So that might take you 20 minutes to decharge something like that.
I have a 30-second interruption, but there's a Whole Foods headquarters in Austin, Texas. That's
Oh, yeah.
wonderful. It's fun. But the corporate building's up above. And I loved meeting people there from maybe 2010, 2011 for sure, or 2012, for as long as I could when I was in Austin for 10 years. But I'd meet people there. They had so many cool seating areas in the back in the old days. They had elevated round tables like a Starbucks table. You could sit anywhere. There were so many choices. And then at some point, I think Amazon was buying them out. And it got complex in the building, and there was a lot of negativity. And I got told, I believe by angels, like no more work in the building. And I didn't listen the first time, but I listened after this. I went in and I was like, well, I'll sit by the window. I'll do extra bubbling up. I'll do extra my other stuff. And I met the person, had a successful whatever. But I was on my couch at home crying for like 2 days after that. I felt
Yeah,
like I'd been
right.
boxed and
That's
punched,
right.
and it was brutal.
Yep.
And I didn't go back till much, much later when I heard it was smoothed out.
And here's the crazy thing. This happens a lot. I mean, I hear this kind of thing in variation a lot. Here's the thing. We should, when you have an open heart, it's a big sponge for negativity. We should do that. That's part of the role of being in a human form for each other. We do this. That said, we need to know how to manage the energy effectively so we don't get taken down by it. And that's part of the array of tools that Kaleshwar came to give us. And I'll say this, after he said that in San Francisco that night, Jonathan and I looked at each other and we're like, you know what? We're going to do this for like free in our local spiritual bookstore in Santa Cruz. We're just going to like once a month give decharging classes. And we did for many, many months. Hairdressers, nurses, massage therapists crying, saying, I thought I was going crazy. I knew there was something wrong. I didn't know what it was. Oh my God, thank you. Because we would have people like decharge on the spot using black stones also for the earth element. Black stones have a particular capability that just offloads straight to the big earth. Done. No need to wash them or bury them or do the stuff you do with crystals. Any black rock, you can pick it up on a landscaping supply place, whatever.
But also like
Um,
onyx, tourmaline,
doesn't
and there's a
matter.
third.
Anything,
Yeah.
any black rock you find on the side of a road or a beach or whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as it's 90% black, there's no like white. It's not gray. It's really black. It can have some streaks in it, but it should be mostly black. It's a unique property of any black stone, which is why you see in India many of the deities are carved out of basalt and black stone. Because people go in front of the deity and they pour out their hearts, and already that deity is sucking their crap. It's taking their negativity, decharging it. So we would have people in the classes on the spot use these techniques, and they were blown. Headaches would disappear, all the stuff. Things would come out instantly, and they're like, oh my God. Yeah. People need this desperately, so desperately. At the height of the pandemic, I had friends and family on the front lines, working in the COVID wards. In the time when doctors were committing suicide because they were just so hopeless and horrified and didn't know what to do. Anyway, so I got worried about everybody's mental health, obviously, amongst our healthcare providers. And so I made a commercial website called Energetics of Self-Care to give these techniques with a focus on our healthcare folks, of course, doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, pretty much everybody was all hands on deck at that time, so that they could maintain their mental health and their physical health while they were going through this seemingly endless pandemic. But I made the tools, obvious, like for teachers and realtors and hospitality people and customer service folks and anybody in the helping professions. Clergy were taking it in the teeth. Many people walked away from the clergy after the pandemic because they were on Zoom with all their congregants, and mostly it was the mental health issues of people in isolation and fear and all like that, and clergy from all traditions. I have friends who are rabbis and friends who are pastors, and they were just like, oh my God, subsumed by the negativity that they were trying desperately to handle on behalf of their people. So I put those tools out in a really kind of elegant format, so that people could grab them and use them and practice them. It's a daily practice, honestly. And again, it all comes back to those 5 elements, those building blocks of the miracle energy and indeed of our whole creation. And in a way, it's like reversing. Everything comes into the creation from the nothing through the something of the 5 elements. So when you have something negative in this creation and you want to send it back to the source, it's good to go through some physicalized form of the 5 elements that correlates to the 5 elements in our own system. So that I want to say about that. So he schooled us in that because he was giving us the highest healing capabilities available on this planet, meaning we're really in it with people's pain. No way anybody could survive that.
Can we take a small step? I'm going to light sage here in Texas. You're in California, but you'll be the only guest out of 500 tapings, although 75 are solo. So I'm not lighting sage for myself, although I do light sage on the solo ones. I forget a lot too. When I light this sage, and you may already start to get it, but then if you don't mind, it's not ditch the sage. You might get sage, but if you could allow for Penukonda, Sri Kaleshwar temple incense to come in from India, and
Mm-hmm.
then bells and a third thing that we have no way of knowing, but so 3 vibrational levels. We'll call it 3 layers of fun, like lasagna, or I'll say lasagna since I mispronounce everything. All right, here's the sage. So I guess I got to do something. A Bic lighter. I'll put the green side out first. There we go, just to show that it works.
Get that fire element going.
Yeah, let's get a little fire element going, and let's make it fun. Very shiny. I like shiny. Very shiny, sparkly blue Crate and Barrel tea light. Costs like $1 or $2. I have hundreds of these. One day I'll be able to sell them for like $5 or give them out as part of when you did the service as an extra bonus to remember, I guess, the tea light that you put in there or the sage that you got. Who knows? But it protects the rainbow shell and abalone shell. Okay, I got enough smoke to make this happen. You're probably already getting something. Let us know when you've got maybe smoke, but let us know more importantly and more fun, something from India. And at home, breathe. 1 millimeter in the mouth is an extra 5% bonus, like video games. We're dying to know which video games you influenced back in the 90s, 2000s. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. And so here's the sage. Shoulders up and down counts as breathing. If you're a professional TM, nose breathing, fine. Okay. But as long as the shoulders are moving, they're like bellows. You're cranking that fire. Okay. Are you already getting some smoke?
Hmm.
Okay. Now from India, my microphone's down here today. So if it looks like I'm blowing down, don't think it's weird. Um, I'll hold it up. Catch extra, and if you don't mind catching even Penukonda breeze, hear the tree branches swaying, birds chirping. If your eyes are closed, great. It accentuates it, but no big deal. Allow, allow, allow. No triota. Archangel Gabriel said, always try. It ain't about words. They're both correct. Have Sri Kaleshwar come in and bring you something extra plus some humor. He always said in those two 26-minute videos, why not?
Why
You
not?
gotta love that. That
Indeed.
is almost like a mantra. Why not?
Indeed.
Oh,
Hmm.
so what'd you get? We got to get you talking to share. Sharing's caring. What'd you get?
Oh, there's a particular kind of incense that they use in the temple in Penukonda. It's called samrani. It's a kind of like chunky, it's a resin incense that they put over hot coals and they make a really thick smoke with it. And so that's very distinctive. Also, the smell of camphor, which permeates pretty much every Indian temple you ever go to because they use it in all the ceremonies. That very cooling kind of quality of camphor.
They only use that in the East Coast for mosquitoes, I thought.
No, no. No, it's the thing in
Oh,
mothballs. That's
oh, okay.
citronella you're thinking of. Camphor is mothball smell. Hmm.
Okay.
But they
Oh,
used to
yeah.
burn it in the medical wards in the turn of the last century, in the 19 aughts and teens, to purify out the medical hospital wards. Camphor is very purifying, but it's always used in Indian ceremonies and temples and stuff. It's very distinct.
Okay. We're gonna put
Hmm.
you to work. We're gonna have to do a lot of episodes here because you're gonna have a lot to share. This is like a giant encyclopedia. We only hit the first chapter of A. We don't know about B through Z yet.
Hmm.
Here's Sri Kaleshwar, the photo that I like to use. Here, a very smart aleck thing that you're not going to share out loud, but it makes you laugh or shake your head. And get a ginormous hug, but if you don't mind getting rose petals everywhere, it could be a different type of flower. It doesn't matter. And if you don't mind sharing something out loud, like got it, so we know, but again, it's private to you.
Got it.
Got good. Now, if you don't mind, he has something for humanity. Remember, the more complex, the more conflict, the more people not listening. I'm shocked there's gambling going on in the casino to do a Humphrey Bogart kind of quote out of Casablanca. What's he saying for all of us as a reminder right now?
Huh, that's very interesting. Something he always used to say, and it had many layers of meaning. It's not a simple
Oh,
thing. Be honest.
ooh.
He would say, be honest with his funny South Indian accent, but be honest. And that, I think, goes to the many layers of the karmas that people are carrying. Like be honest with yourself. If you're facing challenges, if you're facing really difficult things, whether it's a health situation or something else in your life, where did that come from? Why is that showing up right now? if if we're honest with our trajectory as a soul, we've lived many lifetimes, we have a lot of baggage from other lifetimes we're not aware of. We need to say, okay, this is happening. The tendency of the human being on the surface level is to go, this isn't fair, this shouldn't be happening to me, this is really unpleasant. Why? I never did anything to. Well, yeah, actually, we did somewhere back in our soul trajectory, and we need to reckon with that. We have to be okay with that. And that's kind of the first step toward getting something healed, honestly, is to be very honest.
Are you ready for? I'll give you door A, door B, door C, and I can tell you who the doors are, but you can also just wing it if you want. But door A is the Divine Mother, door B is Ganesha, door C is Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, but you can only pick one at the moment. Is it door A, B, or C? Hand off your face to make the decision.
Do we
Which
have a
door?
reason? Yeah, any hint about why?
Well, no, not really. Just pick A, B, or C, and you'll
Ah,
get B and
Ganesha.
C later. So who do you want?
Let's go Ganesh. And also, I do want to tell you a mind-blowing miracle that Kaleshwar did because you asked me that initially.
Oh, we'll go straight to that after Ganesh. Uh, Give me 2 seconds.
Sure.
2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, here's Ganesh
Oh, my buddy.
and a new incense that you're like, oh, I completely forgot about that from India. Have him come in a very special way. I have no words for it, so I'm going to be quiet. And then when you're ready, he'll have something to share and reflect to all. Good, good, good.
Yeah, that's funny. They're giving a lot of orders today. I don't know why, but his sense is be courageous.
Tell
And
us.
I'll remind ourselves that the origin of the English word courage comes from the French the cœur, the heart. Be open-hearted. Bravery comes from having a very strong heart, you know.
I didn't know. We're gonna do one detour delay before we get you to share the miracle. The photo of the tiger, that's the Divine Mother's ride or Durga's ride. We'll just say tiger, not a man or woman, but deity, like pure action. Soft shampooed fur is what I say. And totally the one from the Sri Kalesh, no, Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, Sri Kaleshwar.
Oh,
No,
you're talking about when he was doing his homework. Well, he was doing
yeah,
his
who am I?
process,
I'm
and his dad
confusing.
interrupted him. It was
That was
Kalashwar.
Sri Kaleshwar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. And that was the one. I'm confusing everything and everyone now. But here's the tiger in a better,
Ugh.
more color. You can put a hand off camera like you've got a giant dog coming in, but maybe a little higher up because he's a big tiger. He's soft shampooed fur. We've had a lot of people on the show feel it. Get the purring. I mean, we're talking nice. He's actioned, very protective. Great Secret Service bodyguard. Here's something very private. And if you want to get a vision, you'll see him in a field with Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, Divine Mother, Ganesh,
Mm-hmm.
Vishnu, Krishna, the whole collective. But he'll be standing right next to you. So this is almost like Aladdin without the desert and all the fancy clothing that way. It's more Indian setup. And instead of Sim Sim, you've got yourself an action figure here. Pure awesomeness. What's the tiger have as a reminder for all of us? And first of all, did you get a good soft shampooed feeling? I'm not kidding. It's
Mm-hmm.
done right. Jaguar Mama is so much more wiry and short. It's like, whoa, okay, because you're Jaguar Mama, yes, but I'll still stick with the tiger every time, like a
Mm-hmm.
pillow, you know.
Oh.
What'd you get from the tiger for all of us?
Yeah, you know, the tiger's nature is they only want one thing. They only want their food. You know, they hunt, they kill, they eat, and then they're really happy. And that's sort of, I think, the tiger advice for all of us is to be very focused. What do we really want? You know, when it comes to spirituality, what do you really want?
Oh.
There's infinite flavors and gradations and practices and tools and this and that and layers and and yet, you know, when the reality things are on the table, what do you really want?
And we hit that theme early on, and Sri Kaleshwar with you. Tell us the miracle, one of the miracles, one of the many
Well,
miracles.
I will. I have actually a tiger story about Kalashwar, which is
Oh,
very
please.
funny.
Yep.
So when I first met him, and then I was in India in 1999, and I hadn't yet learned to ratchet down my natural kind of audacity, I suppose. He and I were sitting chatting, and at one point I said, "You know, Swami, he was a master of like the real paw swipe that would rip you open in a good way, you know, energetically. Like he
Explain
was
that a
very
little.
Um, he would slap people energetically kind of upside the head in their stupidity and their blocks. He didn't suffer fools. He wasn't spoon feeding spirituality. If you couldn't keep up, he was like, come on, you know, like I'm not giving you ABCs here. Get with it. This is Shakespeare. He actually said that many times. So he would really give you a smack in your egoism, especially. Really laser like a tiger, yeah. So anyway, I was sitting there with him, and he did something, you know, and I said, God, Swami, you're really a tiger. He said, what? I said, yeah, big paw, big claws. He said, oh, no, 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 Alex. I'm just a simple house cat, and you're the mouse. All right, man. Just keep it in perspective. But miracle story, yeah. So um, I wanted to talk about, and I actually want to show you what it looks like. In the early 2000s, I believe it was early in 2002, he had a group of students who were meditating daily with huge piles. They each had a container and they were carrying it around in backpacks, and it was all very hush hush and mysterious. But they were different river sands from holy rivers around South India. And they were doing a lot of processes with the sand. And then finally, it was all piled up in his special building, his Dwarkamai, where he kept saying, even when he constructed that building, my tomb will be there. He'd say, that'll be my palace. I'll be there, like forever and ever and ever, and really powerful, for everybody. So at one point, he had them pile all the ash in there, and then hang on, that's what I'm looking for. So they piled the sand in there, and then he drew a lottery with a number of students. 2 women won, and he said, great, we're going to create a massive power object in that sand. So he took those 2 women in there with the sand pile, and the way they described it later was he had them take a big sandalwood stick and poke around in the sand. Is there anything in there? No, Swami, there's absolutely nothing. It was a pretty big pile of sand. Poke around. Nope, nothing, nothing, nothing. Good. And then he had them start stirring it. Stirring. That motion of manifesting. Every time I've seen a divine being, Kaleshwar, Mother, when they've manifested things, they make a rotation. There's a chakra. Yeah. It's in motion as it's getting created. Anyway, so he had them doing that, and then all of a sudden that sandalwood stick hit something inside that sand. He had asked these 2 women, I'm thinking of making a Shiva lingam, which is the embodiment of Lord Shiva, the infinite quality of God in our planet. He said, I'm thinking about creating a Shiva lingam in the sand. Should it just be the lingam itself, like an oval-shaped stone, or should it be the lingam with the female, the yoni part? And they're women, so they were like, no, we want the whole thing, Swami. And he's like, okay. It's a little harder, I guess. Anyway, so clink, the sandalwood hit this thing, and they pulled it out. And indeed, it was this absolutely glorious, I'll show you a picture, of this lingam, this emerald. I'm looking for a picture of just the lingam itself. This is a good one. A solid emerald Shiva lingam with the base. And then, I'll show you this part first. So that's what the Shiva lingam looks like. It is solid emerald. As you can see, it has the base, so it isn't just the oval-shaped stone. It is the union of mother and father together, of Shiva and Shakti together, right? The origin of the creation. But this lingam began emitting almost instantly Amrita, the nectar of immortality, a honey-like substance that flowed straight out of this emerald stone. And I can show you because our Japanese colleagues happen to take a picture of it. So there's the sandalwood stick, there's the pile of sand that it all happened in. You can see a few little angel friends in here as well. And this was the Amrita starting to flow out of this emerald lingam. That Amrita, when the tap was open, and this was all under Kaleshwar's capability of turning it on and off, it would fill the whole floor in that room. It's about maybe 14 by 14, maybe 15 by 15. It's a pretty big room. It would fill the whole floor with Amrita, the nectar of immortality, within a few hours. And we would go and scrape it and bottle it. And we had so much of it in those days that I had friends who would put it in their coffee every day. That Amrita would bring dead birds back to life. It played a role in many, many miraculous, unbelievable things happening in Penukonda over those years that I was living there. And now it's on the samadhi, on the tomb of Kaleshwar, right at his heart. It is an object that is linked to his soul. And he said it will remain, it will be a strong player in the spiritual wake-up of this planet for the next 1,000 years. So that was pretty mind-blowing. And there were times when he would just turn on the tap, and I swear to God that Amrita was flowing everywhere. we couldn't catch it fast enough to bottle it and everything and keep it and distribute it to all the students and everything. Other times he would turn it off because he would notice that like people would kind of go a little crazy on his ashram, just with their own purification coming up so fast because that amruta was flowing and really kind of waking everybody up very, very, very quickly.
They got punch drunk.
Um, yeah, it can happen. And well, and just like too much purification too fast, it's a lot of negativity coming up. It can get kind of ugly,
Yep.
you know. And so he would sort of monitor it, and then sometimes he would just turn it off. And then he said later in the future days, this hasn't happened yet, he said in the future, that lingam on his samadhi, I can show you his samadhi here. He said it will emit amruta all the time. People can visit Penukonda, taste that amruta, immediately see Mother Divine in person on the spot, and get their enlightenment on the spot. It's done, finished. So this is what his samadhi looks like more or less today. And so his feet are toward us, his head is that a ways. He's in this thing here.
Yep.
And the Amrita Lingam is sitting exactly like where his heart would be. And so today, when people go to Penukonda, they can meditate in that samadhi room with him and receive the real strong blessing that's flowing from that lingam. To date, it hasn't yet begun to flow Amrita, but I think, why not? Just wait. It's coming. So that was pretty mind-blowing to be around that. Like at that same time, the Harry Potter books were becoming, a thing. And people would say to me, oh my gosh, are you reading these Harry Potter novels, And I'm saying, well, I'm kind of living it right now. So no, I didn't catch up on them for many years after they all came out. But we were in a miracle environment all the time. And you never knew from day to day what was going to happen there in Penukonda. And how it would express and what he would put the students to do. At a certain point in all of our trajectory, he would have student groups working in different processes and doing different meditations, and we would make crosses bleed. We would make the amrita flow from the lingam. We would do these amazing things that we had seen him do. Take yoga samadhis, bring dead birds back to life. A lot of amazing, amazing, amazing demonstrating the mechanics of the creation.
Can we do a lightning round? We're
Sure.
gonna, with your permission, he loved angels. So before we do anything with angels and Sri Kaleshwar,
Mm.
can you just recap briefly in some way? I think he mentions it in the Paula Allen Steinfeld 2 26-minute videos. Very, if
Mm.
Sri Kaleshwar is like this with angel, Sri Shirdi Sai Baba
Mm.
is like this with angels. Same thing with Sri Kaleshwar.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one big happy family. But let's hear it from you. You were there.
About angels, you mean specifically?
Yes.
Oh, that's a whole chapter.
Just a title, headline, and maybe the subtitle on the newspaper. We don't have to do the article yet. We'll get you on that one day for sure. How'd he refer to angels?
Pots of energy,
Oh my God, I've never heard anybody say that. I love that.
pots of light, pots of energy. And he would say they could take any form. It could be humanish, it could be animal, it doesn't matter. He would say all his miracles were coming through the agency of the angels, that a lot of the information that he would get would come straight from the angels. There were times when we would see him receive a message like from the wind. He taught us in the 5 elements his basic foundational practices in the air element, in the wind. The angels are living in the air, in the wind. They're in the breezes. And even the human breath in and the human breath out is we're breathing in the power of the angels, we're exhaling the power of the angels. That's why in so many of the Vedic, linked to India traditions, you'll see the breath is such an important component of meditations, of yoga, of different practices. It's because of the relationship, I think, with the angels. He would tell us also that Ganesha is the expert with the angels. That the other thing that's very interesting to me is that saints, certain types of saints, when they have a particular capability, they can bring their soul out of their body. They can split their soul into myriad pieces and leave some of those pieces in the creation to function as angels.
Mm.
It's almost like, a bank thing where you have the principal and then you have all the interest. So the interest is scattered in the universe to go and help people in the name of, let's say, Jesus, if he created his angels, or Buddha, or this one or that one. But then the principle, the main part of it comes back in, the main part of the soul comes back to that saint. But they'll create, if they have the capacity to do that, they'll split their own soul into myriad parts and put them loose in the world, so that, let's say, when someone prays to Jesus and you have maybe conceivably a billion or more people daily praying to Jesus, and they get relief, or they get their answer, or they get their thing healed, or their problem solved, it's not Christ himself who's handling all those calls. It's his angels. The structure of angels that he created are actually doing that for the people. So that's a big subject, and a beautiful subject. And yes, the angels are intrinsic to the whole thing,
Well, I'm going
of
to put up
course.
a few photos of angels, but we are going to get to Sri Kaleshwar Ganesh. And there was one more. I've already forgotten who, but it'll come back. Um, yeah. So with your permission, here's Joy. She's Joy, very high, peppy voice. Well, could you just have her come in and bathe you in the most simplicity and joy, high frequency and love? And you'll catch something extra sensory, whatever we're talking about, something that's just fun. And then a very short, it's not a mantra, more of a reminder daily for us all. She likes to keep it easy, fun, short, simple. She's very cosmic. What does she have for all of us? First, did you get something from her privately?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's her message for all of us?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, joy. Well, be happy.
Love it. Shocked. Never heard that one on this show before. Okay.
Yeah, I can't
Uh,
imagine.
exactly. Here's Charlotte, everybody's favorite teacher from third form, third grade, with words meant to help you expand. Not Mrs. Wilson, the one who got you in trouble in front of the principal. The nice one. So she might have been Nefertiti in ancient Egypt. If you want to catch an ancient Egyptian incense, not available today via Amazon or at the tourist sites down in Egypt, catch an
Mm-hmm.
amazing incense that you're like, whoa, like India, but not quite.
Mm.
And get something very private from her. Close your eyes, get a little vision. She'll show you her, Sri Kaleshwar, Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, Ganesh, and some others. We'll give you 30 seconds on that. I'll do another public service announcement. Let me think what it is. Oh, we are in our third year for the Angels Positivity and Love Show. You're in June of 2026. We're actually booked now to January of 2027. That's actually good that it's only 6 months out. We were a year and a half out. We have amazing guests and the fun ones, and they're all fun. We like to have super open guests back on over and over again. So if we're lucky, I really doubt Alx Uttermann's going to be one of those who burns out. I think we're going to have her back, and we've already talked a couple more recordings. So yay! And she's got an amazing battery. It's like one that it could power a whole fleet of Teslas. So with that, Charlotte will help ask for 3 waves of light from Charlotte, Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, or Sai Baba, or Babs, or Saint Bob. Sri Kaleshwar, ask for 3 waves of light through you to restore a little bit of energy, a little rippling of light, some sparkles, glitter if the eyes are open, rainbow light fluctuating from archangels if the eyes are closed, like tie-dye. Did you get a little extra just now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's Charlotte sharing with all of us? We got to put you to task here.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, that there are very deep links between South India and Egypt.
Oh, nice. Good. Very
Very
good.
strong. Strong. Hmm.
Not shocked at all. Okay, here's it was
We put the
Jesus.
shock in Shakti.
Yeah, and it was Jesus that I forgot about. So don't let me forget Jesus.
Oh,
It'll be
hey, don't forget that, boss.
yeah, so 3 more angel photos, but it's really like 7 angels, or actually it's 4 more angel photos. There's a lot of archangels coming up. Here's Min, like Minnesota, Lakota Sioux word for water. Don't even worry about Awala. Her name is Water Rainbow or Water Morning Glory. Don't worry about it. Soft-spoken professor, light waves of energy and water. Mother Hawaii, with a serious background if you like galactic stuff. Angel today. And definitely catch water, cleansing, rippling, even smell the ocean. And she's my guardian angel. So we'll throw your host under the bus. I don't think I've ever done it this way before. I don't mind. I mean, if it's totally private, don't say it out loud. But otherwise, what does she say that I need to remember before we do everybody in the world? Or
Hmm.
just something that's keep going and upbeat. It doesn't have to be like a remembering thing. What does she got for moi?
Oh, stay sharp and alert.
Okay. Yeah, definitely doing that. I like that. I like that. I'm seeing the bridge of the Enterprise and making sure everything's functioning, security's doing good, blinking
Warp
lights.
speed, Mr. Sulu.
Yeah, shields up too. Okay, Min, what does she have for all of us around the globe?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, like practice love, you know. It's not easy.
May you receive I think it's a Siddhi, Siddhi. If you don't
Mm,
mind, just put a hand out. It could be off camera, on camera. It can be palm open. It can be whatever. But you're either putting your hand in light. She's going to do something for you with a lot of Indian presence.
mm,
Receive something with your eyes open, eyes closed. She'll do it for you. You don't have to share much. You can just say, I did get something. It'll be swirling light, da 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 da. But you're receiving something that's energetic, light forms. And oh, I heard the word template the other day, and I kind of like it. There's
mm,
galactic
mm,
symbols and all that, but she'll make a little template that's watery slash India slash something
mm,
else. And I hope
mm.
that really added some extra flair. I haven't used that word
Yeah,
before.
got it. Thank
Oh,
you.
good,
Hmm.
good. Yeah, and it was special. So whatever that was, yay.
Mm,
We'll
mm,
trust that you got a good one. Now, Rebecca, Charlotte, Archangel Michael, and her are my three primary managers, business managers. She's from somewhere far out where music came from, way beyond Andromeda Orion, whatever. There's
mm,
four balls of light in there, and that's like Miami patio furniture by the pool. So it's a real up close shot.
mhm.
Um, Here singing from her, and from that singing comes a message that's nonlinear outside of we dodged with a curveball the English language, but
Mm.
somehow it's hitting everything just right, and you're like, oh my gosh, hearkening almost back to the days of Penukonda or something. What's the message Rebecca has for everyone? And at
Hmm.
home, you can put your hand out and feel these photos. Go back, hit pause, put your hand out, feel what you can feel, don't judge. And you can smell what you can smell. It's your heart knows how to do all the sensory stuff. Let go, breathe, be, ask for
But
angels.
it's so important to be faithful to God, almost in a devotional sense, but the, the word keeps coming faithful. So I don't know what you want to do with that, but
I think that's beautiful, profound, and right to the point. Four archangels in this one. I even put up the right number of fingers. It says Archangel Gabriel, but it's Michael, Uriel, and Raphael. There's three more
mm,
cropped off. I'll still do a photo of all the archangels in Metatron next. Four archangels, and have Uriel and Raphael lead the charge. Michael and Gabriel will be right there. It could be unison, including, I'll never pronounce correctly, the gentleman whose photo is closest to this photo. Maharishni. I didn't say it
Ramana,
right. Yeah.
Ramana Maharshi, yeah.
Maharishni. Yeah, there we go. I just slurred the syllables. I know how to say it. I've got it written down. Have the five of them do something very special for you, but out of it comes either a mantra, a reminder, or simplicity itself.
Mm.
And a smell that's exquisite. It could be bakery, but probably now that we talked about it, nah, it'll be something different. At home, what will you allow for if we ditched all the talk, ditched all the spirituality, angels, everything else? What do we know? Just what are we allowing for more daily? That's the kind of the rub.
Mm.
But now it could be a steak rub. I heard about that stuff. You put a lot of spices on the steak and then you barbecue it for days or hours. And we're in Texas. I should know this stuff. Okay, now I stalled as much as I could. What'd you get from the archangels?
Um, you actually said it. I think it had to do with remembering.
Okay.
Hmm.
I heard to go out and take a photo over my house. This is like 10 or 12 years ago. Don't hold me to it. Sure shot camera, those are amazing when you're a good American red-blooded. Even though I was 42, it was that college try level mentality. I'm sitting, I didn't argue. It's nighttime. I hear go out and take a photo over the house. I'm like, okay. And here's the photo, and it's vortexy or
Mm, mm,
vorticey.
mm, mm.
And you'll be able to feel the vortice, and a lot of intuitive people who are all mature adults who can talk English and explain everything. They are like, yeah, it's vortice, and like we like it, and da 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 da. Da. So if you don't mind, 1 plus 1 can be 1,111. We know how. Break the plus into two more ones and put a comma, and you got your answer. 1 plus 1 equals 1,111. Allow
Mm.
this photo to be that, and Metatron's the little guy in the back.
Mm.
If you want to move a hand off camera, on camera, and just start making a circle motion, you'll feel all the light of these folks coming in. And then Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, Divine Mother, Sri Kaleshwar can hold your space for you. Jesus comes up next now that I just almost forgot. And allow, 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 no triota, always try Archangel Gabriel. So it's not about the words. Feel the light coming in, breathe, and even feel it go up 40 more percent. Like those stereo receivers, 1970, they had the big knobs, turn it 2 millimeters, and Boston Journey floods the house. Chicago, fine. I can't name another American city. There's no band called Dallas, but whatever. Maybe there is. And out of it all, have them just like peace. You're going to hear something from them. What are you getting?
I don't even know if it's in words, really. Just that feeling of like that, mm, like vibrating, strong.
Ooh. And I'm gonna do a
Strong.
dumb segue. We're getting to Jesus in just 10 seconds. They gave
And
me this
I
as a
have to
little
say,
symbol.
oh,
And
oh,
they
that's
gave that,
interesting.
if I was ever to get a
Wow.
tattoo the size of a postage stamp, that was going to be the tattoo. I
Gorgeous.
reversed it so it stands out a little more. I was watching Major League Baseball game. I'm not like a huge MLB fan, but this is like 10 or 12 years ago. I took the photo up top and that's
Yeah.
reversed, so it's a little more
Yeah.
pronounced. They said it
Mm.
was a collective thing, knowledge thing. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
I
and
I
here's
should also mention I have a hard stop in like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll
I'm
put
so
Jesus
sorry.
up and we'll have it wrap up here. Give me 1 second to find
Mm.
Jesus. Got him. This is the classic drawing from that 14-year-old artist. I've, of course, forgotten her name, from Latvia, Estonia. She probably,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
And two PhDs by now, I'm sure, in helping people in a painted 10,000 paintings.
I
So,
remember her. Amazing character. Oh my God, yeah. Uh-huh.
okay, have
Yeah.
Jesus wrap this up, a hard, fast wrap like we're on
Mm,
network TV. And
mm, mm,
have him
mm,
also
mm,
touch your back and do the Kundalini Express, all your chakras getting extra aligned because there's no end to growth. We have actually the embodiment of growth as our
mm.
guest today. She says, grow, grow, grow. And and we made her snort. So this is huge. Have him add a private compliment and be like, he finally pinned you down. You're all about expansion and growth. That's your raison d'etre.
Mm.
But then you and Jesus are doing like top hat, canes, tap dance shoes. Like, who are those famous people that used to do the 1940s movies? Fred Astaire and
Oh, and
Ginger
Ginger Rogers.
Rogers. And you
Mm.
two are going to pair up. What's the final closing? Let me know when you've got it and I'll put him down. He's got a closing thing. You two are tap dancing your way out of the show for a hard stop in 20 seconds.
Love them all.
Did you get a final closing?
Yeah, love them all.
Oh, love them all. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, but repackage it for the Americans who are like, wait, what's she mean by that? So now, what do you mean by that?
Love everybody.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Stop it with the divisions. Even the
Oh.
people you don't like, love them anyway. You don't have to like everybody, but you can love them.
Alx Uttermann, you're amazing. I hope we made your hard stop okay. And thank you so much
Ted,
for being on the show.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ah.
Oh, I'm gonna blow and whoosh one time, but if it could be an amazing India experience, that's how we'll actually close it out. We'll do a couple words at the end, but here comes one whoosh with your permission and angels
Of
shepherding
course.
everything. Here it comes. And I'll do the perpendicular move. Okay, here we go. How about them apples?
Gorgeous.
Good. All right, see you soon.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
See you very, very soon.